I'm Amy Egan, and as Kimberly said, I'm going to talk about starting a project. There's a couple of different scenarios that I thought of. You've probably been working through freeCodeCamp tutorials. If you've gotten to a point where you're kind of past tutorials, but you don't know where to go, you could be trying to start your own project. Or you could be trying to contribute to an open source project. The first thing I want to talk about is your own project, because that's easier. You're not working with other people. It's your own project. You can make it whatever you want it to be. And then, oh, it's not showing. All right. Well, let's try to get my slideshow showing first. There we go. All right. So, first thing we're going to talk about is starting your own project. Hardest part, coming up with an idea. And a lot of things that you come up with are going to seem way too big. But that's not actually a problem. What you want to do is identify something that actually matters to you. The common suggestions that you'll find if you try to Google this are always calculator, to-do list, some other thing that somebody else has done way better than you think you could ever possibly do. And that's really intimidating, and that's not really fun. You're not going to feel good about doing that. So some other suggestions in talking to other people, they came up with a practice quiz app. So they were in school, and this was actually useful to them. So they found a way to make a practice quiz, and they used it to study. And then by the time they got to midterms or final exams, they had this great study tool, and it was something that they built themselves, so they felt really good about it. Every time there was a bug, they felt good about fixing it, because it was something that they actually wanted to use. Another idea, some people like to make text-based games, like a choose-your-own-adventure story. The example project that I built while I was coming up with all of this was a habit tracker. You can keep track of when you practice your skills. If you're trying to make a habit of doing it every day, you can come and check it off. Somebody who I work with who does QA wanted to become a developer instead of just doing QA and kind of have both skill sets. And her first project that she came up with was a plort market price calculator. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the game Slime Rancher, but this was a game that she really liked to play. And so she built herself a tool to help making it more fun to play for herself. A Chrome extension. It can seem really intimidating, but actually you can write it with some simple JavaScript. Replacing a word with a funny word. It's a simple Chrome extension that you can build. A really useful one, a static resume page. This isn't that hard. You write it in HTML. The hardest part is getting it published out onto the web, and I'll go over one pretty easy way to do that at the end when we're done talking through the steps. So as I said, my example was a habit tracker, so that's kind of what I'm going to reference. So the first thing you do is identify your own requirements. So this is, what can this do? How is it going to work? How is it going to look? And it's kind of a double-edged sword. Because it's fun, you can make up exactly how you want it to be, but it also means now you have to build it. So, step one, pick one feature to build. This isn't going to be pretty, and it isn't going to be perfect, but pick just one thing. So in my example, I just built the very first HTML index page, and I put a button on it, and I put a list of every time I click the button, and that's all. And then once you have that as a starting point, you can add more features. While you're doing this, it's going to be really easy to get distracted by all of the things that it could possibly do. You're going to see stuff and say, oh, I want that to be prettier. Oh, wouldn't it be great if it did this extra thing? What if it had this cool color? What if it popped up a modal when you click that button? And those all might be good ideas. They also might be terrible ideas. You don't know. But it's really important to just focus on that one feature that you're working on at a time. And every time a new idea comes into your head, just write it down. And then later, explore it. And that's how you're going to come up with new requirements and new features. All right, first step is done. What are we going to do? Pick one more feature and focus on it. And same thing, don't get distracted. Every idea that comes into your head, just write it down. And then you can explore it later. And we're going to keep repeating these steps. And I can't say it enough, it's really important. Pick one feature. Work on just that one feature. And if you get stuck on that one feature, that's okay. Ask for help. We have a Slack channel. Lots of people are willing to help. And there are no dumb questions. Everyone was a beginner. We all remember. And just keep repeating this whole process. Come up with one feature that you're going to work on next. Focus on that. Build it. Get it working. And don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. It's not going to be perfect the first time. So here's my example project, and let's see if I can switch to show that. So I kind of made an example project. There's a little README that's basically a summary of the slides that we just went over. This is more tailored to the steps that I used to build this, and it is far from perfect, but I showed just a few iterations of what I started with, and then the next steps and the next steps. So first, I just built an HTML page. And sorry if that's really hard to see. You can look at this code yourself later if you actually want to. The point is, we just have one pretty small file. It doesn't do much. And then the next version, we add more things, and the single file gets longer, right? And we keep adding and adding until we have something that that kind of works. So here was my first version. Here's the second version, and I've got it saving. So I can click on this, and I can click save, and now if I reload the page, nothing changed because it actually saved them, and it's just reloading them for memory. And then I made another version, and this one has some styling. And I changed the way that these look, so when I click the button, it adds new ones. And then the third version, now we've got some styling, so look, all of these from the beginning of the month, I didn't do the habit all month, but if I click it today, now we add it, and I did it today. So you can see like just one feature at a time, adding and adding and adding, can change a whole lot, but just one thing at a time. And then, oops. Oh, now I can't get to my other screen. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about is contributing to open source. And this one can be really, really intimidating unless you have worked on some project of your own. So that's why I covered that first. But contributing to open source is also great. And if you can't come up with an idea of your own, no reason that you can't just jump to open source. There are a few tools that you're going to want to know. First is the basic Git commands, and there's a website that you can go to. There's lots of resources for this. That's not the only one. But it's going to be really important to know some basic Git commands. Another thing is you're going to need a GitHub account, and you're going to want to learn how to use it. Again, there are a lot of different resources. Of course, the link that I put in here is super long, and no one's going to remember it. But just a quick Google search, a lot of people have a lot of different tips for how to use GitHub and how to start contributing from the technical side. Another thing that might be helpful to know is a lot of the beginner issues that I've seen are actually documentation, and a lot of that is written in Markdown, so that would also be a helpful thing to know, and that's really easy to pick up. So then just find a small issue to fix. freeCodeCamp has a label, First Timers Welcome, and those are some pretty easy first-time issues to solve. There's also a website called First Timers Only. A lot of different repos will have issues tagged first timers only, and those are good to start with. Really small, not super intimidating, and you can still ask questions. If you're stuck, people will help you. And then there's another GitHub repo, awesome for beginners, and it identifies by language some of the different projects that you can contribute to. So if you know which language you want to use, that can be very helpful. Let's close that. Sorry, my computer is not cooperating with me right now. Okay. So those links that I just talked about, freeCodeCamp has some. Here they have one, First Timers Welcome, and it's going to be a pretty small issue to fix. And they got some good documentation for what the issue is. This is First Timers Only. And lots of links. If you're interested, definitely go through here, click some of the links. You'll find some good information. And this one I really like because it is broken down by language. So if you know .NET, here's some. If you know C, here's some things. If you're interested in Go or Java, there's a whole bunch of JavaScript ones. That's probably what we're most familiar with here. And lots and lots of options to choose from. freeCodeCamp is one of them, but there's a lot that have these kinds of labels where good for beginner, good first issue, up for grabs, that will help guide you to those easy first issues. Yeah. And then, beyond that, there's not much. There we go. Oh, that's all I've got. Okay. Beyond that, if you wanted to do something like, say, that resume idea or some other static page that you built and you just want to share it, GitHub pages is one way, but if that's super intimidating and you don't know Git and you don't want to get yourself tripped up by worrying about all the new tech that you've got to learn, Netlify is another site where you can host things for free, and they've got this tool to make it really easy. And let me just show you. So we looked at my example app, and oops, that's not even the right one. There we go. Looked at my example app, and that is here. And so, sorry, I had this open and then I had to restart, so I don't have it open anymore. If we go in here and go back to the Netlify page, we can actually drag this right onto their website, and it will publish it. And you can sign up for an account to make this permanent, or if you don't have an account, then it'll just go away. But they make it really, really easy. It's already live. And if I refresh, it auto-saved. So if you don't know Git yet and you want to have some project out on the web, Netlify is a good way to get that out there and share it with people. You can even set up your own custom domain if you want. But that is all I have to cover right now. Does anyone have questions? Anything I can clarify? Because I know I went kind of fast. Not on the stream, yeah.